Hello guys, welcome to the next last ball drop show. I think this is the penultimate one, although maybe they are also happening during the quarters. I'm not sure. Definitely, there's also going to be one tomorrow. I can't remember who is on it, but definitely not us two. However, of course, we are back. I think we've already done 3 of these, so you know the drill. And basically, right now we are only left like what with like what 10 matches today or something like that. Yeah, to 10 matches
Yeah.
today. So we will basically be talking about them all, some maybe less so, some maybe more. So I don't know, maybe where do you want to start? Um,
Yeah, I guess we could just start with the match that just took place or didn't finish yet, but we saw
mhm.
the first two sets with Djokovic against Hurkacz, and
Yeah.
Djokovic leading 7-6, 7-6, 8-6 in both tie breaks. The match, has pretty much gone what we kind of expected, that it was going to come down to tie breaks and close margins, like you would expect with Hurkacz's big serve, Djokovic also being terrific in tie breaks this year. Um, but Hurkacz did give himself chances, right? He was 6-3 up in the first set tiebreak. He managed to. It was actually Djokovic who blinked a few times there, but then once most of the points, there were hardly any rallies. It was basically one rally every single every single time, basically for the server, and it was up to the returner to just get the ball back in play and try and make something happen, basically. And then Hurkacz served at 6-5, and Djokovic hit the block return, gets it low, and Hurkacz is coming forward and trying to do what he does well, which is finish at net. But then he can't really finish on the forehand, as we've talked about before, and that's often comes to bite him in pressure moments. And that's kind of what happened in the first set.
Yeah, once at all. If it was once at all right now, and honestly, it could have been even 2-love up for Hurkacz, we would have been talking about like a completely different match for tomorrow. And like right now, it's just so hard to imagine him turning this around. Even though he probably hasn't been like the weaker player, he has been the weaker player, Hurkacz, from the ground. But his serving has been incredible, and yeah, he basically could have won both sets, as he said, 6-3, and that terrible, terrible forehand approach shot, which is kind of what he's been doing. That's the issue with it, I suppose. The main issue that he cannot really, like, when it's below the net. He cannot really produce a dangerous stroke with it. We also saw it on a few occasions in the second set when he was trying to approach to Djokovic, and he just gives him so much time because
Yeah,
there's not much on it on that approach shot. If there is much on it, like if he's actually trying to get a lot of pace onto the ball, the control just isn't there. And that whole opening tiebreak was basically Hurkacz missing forehands, because you can say that over the course of the 2 sets here, like Hurkacz has not created any chances on the Djokovic serve, but in the tiebreak, it was actually him who was getting returns back in play, and yeah, just didn't take his chances. Of course, in the second set as well, 5-4 and 2 serves. And right now, yeah, against someone as clutch as Djokovic, it's just really hard to imagine him doing this. Even though, yeah, if it was once at all, he actually would have had a pretty brilliant chance, I think, tomorrow. But yeah, then right now it's probably gone. I think compared to the 2019 Wimbledon clash, Hurkacz is definitely serving much better today, or like was
yeah.
serving much better. But
23
of the
aces.
yeah, 23 aces, but off the ground, it's more of a mismatch than it was for 4 years ago. Like
Yeah,
the rallies, Hurkacz basically has not been winning like any of them. He's also trying some weird stuff. I think that slowing down the play against Djokovic sometimes is the right idea. Like I'm not my commentator on TV. Probably don't know him. His name is Radosław Szymanik. He was the Polish Davis Cup captain before Mariusz Fürstenberg. But he was talking a lot about like Hurkacz, the fact that he is slowing down play and like inviting Djokovic into longer rallies, this being such a huge mistake. I'm not necessarily sure about that. However, yeah, the way he's doing it, and definitely not feeling that comfortable in these slice exchanges, and yeah, just never winning them. I'm
yeah,
kind of surprised actually that like that's how the dynamics in baseline rallies have been shaking up, because it hasn't been the case always in this matchup that Djokovic just wins 80% of them, but at least today that's what happens. And yeah, probably the chance is gone. But yeah, pretty fantastic match from Hurkacz so far. He just didn't take his chances.
Yeah, and I guess he did well to save what 5 break points, but
Yeah, and
we'll
one
see
of
with.
them,
Yeah, I think I know which one you're talking about. The fifth
yeah,
one, right?
fifth or fourth, yeah,
Yeah, in that eighth game of the second set, and
hmm
Djokovic. I mean, you're allowed to go over the net, but as you just can't touch the net, and then
he still didn't make the shot though, right?
yeah,
He still
no, he
played it
missed it.
out actually. Yeah.
Yeah, nice bit of sportsmanship in exchange there, but yeah, it just came down to those two tie breaks, like you said. And Djokovic actually hasn't been, that. It's not like Roland Garros where he's just not making a single enforcer. He's been making at least one or two in every tie break he's played so far, but so far it just hasn't really costed him, and the opposition has just been getting, tight, and he's been getting away with some errors actually, and kind of shows when you have an aura in tie breaks like he has right now. He's 20-4 in tie breaks this year, and Hurkacz, who has a lot of experience playing them, he also has a lot of experience, missing those forehands, like you were saying in the first set tiebreak. But yeah, I mean, I guess we should move on and talk about the other matches. Do we want to talk about? Let's just stick to the men's side maybe, and then how about Sinner beating Galan? Is that a match that you really got to see a lot of, and what do you think about
Not
it?
really. Like it wasn't something I focused on because it just felt like it's gonna be moderately easy. I
Yeah,
know it wasn't precisely that, even though it is straight sets. There was a tweet I think that I saw from our own, talking tennis fellow, Shrihari, who was talking about like Sinner getting more nervous and this being
yeah,
because his draw has opened up. I'm not really sure about it. Like, I think it was a slight underestimation of Quentin Ellis and especially Quentin Ellis, but also Daniela Lachigalan on like a faster court. But Sinner is definitely doing fine. His draw has opened up absolutely.
yeah,
Like other than Ellis, he basically hasn't had to come through anyone who's like remotely dangerous to him right now. Is Safiullin remotely dangerous to him? Probably more than Galan. Probably maybe somewhere around Alice. I suppose I would still expect him to do it. Someone just said something about Sinner actually. Yeah, Darren Cahill will have noted that non-clutch Novak in the tie breaks in the last two matches is something that Sinner can be encouraged by. I am still not too excited about the potential of this matchup, honestly. I think Hurkacz just put a lot more pressure on Djokovic on grass than Sinner or Rublev will. But yeah, I mean, it's not like he hasn't shown any chinks in his armor. And yeah, Sinner, if he gets to the semis, he will have done it by like one of the easiest possible throws, probably, which isn't
yeah,
his fault at all. And he is capable of getting to the semis with a very tough draw as well. I'm not saying that. But yeah, today was maybe just another example of that with a pretty inspired effort from Galan, but yeah,
yeah.
it just wasn't enough.
Yeah, I mean, I think it took him till his 15th breakpoint chance to finally break. So I think that's, there were like at least 3 or 4 chances where he could have probably broken early and would have been actually probably more simpler. But yeah, I mean, he's certainly still taking care of business and dropped just the first set against Halis in the previous round. But I mean, overall, we expect him to get to the semis now. He's playing Roman Safiul, and someone in the chat is actually asking about Shapovalov and his match against Safiulin, and was he injured today? And I kind of think in the last 2 sets, especially, you could see that it was really bothering him, the knee, and it's been bothering him for quite a few weeks actually now, and probably that's why I don't come out of this match feeling like very disappointed in Shapovalov and his performance, because I just think you could clearly tell that he just wasn't injured, and even if he somehow got through this match, it's not like he would have had any chance in the quarters, and definitely not in the semis if he somehow got there, because yeah, I mean, he's just not clearly 100% healthy. So
Yeah, I guess with Shapovalov it can always be pretty hard to tell, with the general lack of tactics in his game.
yeah,
And yeah, sometimes you just don't know if he's okay because yeah, he's just hitting everything out and like barely has this devil may care attitude, but like not in a good way. And yeah, today was definitely that. I am probably on your side that something was wrong. Perhaps it was the knee, perhaps it was the movement, but it was not as maybe of a like it wasn't as ridiculous of a performance, I think, as some people make it out to be. The number of
Yeah.
double faults was kind of exaggerated. Like, no, it wasn't exaggerated. It was simply really high. But otherwise, yeah, of course, it was a chance that he should have taken. Of course, it was a chance that like was there for him, especially after the year that he's had, and it would have helped him massively. But yeah, he probably wasn't touching Sinner if he was looking like anywhere in the something in the last 3 sets against Svitolina. And I also have to talk about, because Matthew says here that can you explain what happened with Novak falling on the net? Why did Novak play the ball when Hubi did not get it over? Hubi did get it over. The volley just had, it was an accident. It had a lot of backspin on it, and it basically bounced on Novak's side of the net. Then it went back to Hurkacz's side of the net, which, of course, you are still allowed to hit it. However, you cannot touch the net. Novak touched the net and also actually missed it. But yeah, a very tricky shot to make, honestly, from Novak. But that's like 100% luck. Honestly, it kind of reminds me of that volley that Federer hit against Djokovic in Paris 2018.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was actually a net court, and Federer just does this reaction, gets the racket up into the air, and it hits the frame, and it's like a killer shot. There, Novak actually didn't even make it to that ball. Here, he had a play on it, you could say, but yeah, it was so tough. Blind luck for Hurkacz. So as much as we can say that he missed his chances in both tie breaks, there were also plenty of opportunities for him not to even get to that second tiebreak. So I guess there are two sides to this story.
Yeah. All right. Yep. Thanks for addressing that. Do we want to talk about, probably the match of the day on the men's side, Bublik versus
Sure.
Rublev? So I actually missed the first part of this match, but I managed to catch, obviously, the fourth set, the match point saves, along with the ridiculous shot, obviously, at the very end from Rublev, which is probably the highlight and probably the shot of the tournament so far, with Bublik absolutely blasting the backhand winner, what we thought was going to be a winner, but then Rublev just gets over to the other side and just, manages to get the ball back in play and falls over, and then crowd reaction was amazing, and then that was basically to bring up match point. But this actually became very, very tricky for Rublev to gather his composure and close out this match in the fifth after having lost the fourth. He had 2 match points. Bublik came up with a 135 mile per hour second serve, which is kind of Bublik doing what Bublik does, and then wins the tiebreak, and then so he had all the momentum, and obviously Rublev might have been thinking about Roland Garros, where he was 2 sets to level up against Sonego in the third round, and didn't manage to get over the line there. So this has to be a pretty satisfying win for him in the end. He also, of course, had a break point early on in the third set, I think, in the 4-all game as well, and some chances he did well to get it back from 6-3 to 6-all in the third set tiebreak. So we could have been looking at potentially a straight set win, but obviously Bublik has a very, very high ceiling, higher than Rublev's, and Rublev's floor is obviously much higher. And it looks like it's going to be Rublev again in his 8th quarter final of a major, and he's playing Djokovic. And I honestly think had Bublik won, it probably would have been a tougher match for Novak, just given the unpredictability of Bublik and all the different things he can throw at you with his return of serve position, his slices, just kind of intangibles, I guess, if you want to call it that. Whereas Rublev, I think Novak is pretty comfortable with that kind of a ball, and he knows exactly, he just has a lot more options, I think, to win points, and especially Rublev's second serve, I think, is going to be a big issue in that matchup, like we saw at the Australian Open, where it was not really competitive at all.
Yeah, we've seen this matchup so many times already, and like every single time, yeah, it's just Novak slowly drains Rublev and works him out over time, I would say. And yeah, I just don't see how this doesn't happen again, especially on a surface that Rublev is not like at his most effective on. He is great everywhere, of course, and we've said it not ad nauseum that like the floor is just incredible with him. It's just that the ceiling is not quite up there with the very best of the sport, and it probably is something that is going to be visible on Tuesday. Tuesday, am I right? Yeah, Tuesday or Friday actually. Sorry, Tuesday or Wednesday, but never mind. In the quarterfinals anyway. Yeah, Tuesday because that half of the draw started earlier. Yeah, so it's not gonna be so yeah, I just can't get excited about this matchup either. Djokovic Rublev. The last few times we've seen it. It was just so lopsided, and yeah, Bublik could have been more dangerous. I agree, but a great match from the Russian anyway. I did think that like this performance was maybe not as mature as Bublik, as the first three for Bublik, but it was also easier for him to produce such an effort, of course, against Maximilian Marterer, for example, than it was for him to produce this sort of an effort against Andrei Rublev. The quality of the opposition probably mattered there as well in actually getting into Bublik's head a little bit. But still, it was pretty great. Like he lived up to the expectations following his Halle title, which I don't know if I can say that I didn't expect, but with the sort of draw that he had, playing McDonald Wolf in the first two rounds, already a couple of tough matchups. That was something that probably needed to be proven that that Bublik can. That Bublik can just follow up that Halle title, and he actually did. So, but I can also understand what Tennis Twitter is saying, that he was expecting a bit more from Bublik, but Rublev certainly handled it well, and I would definitely second this. There's also a question about somewhere earlier, well, from Nurlan about hey guys, do you really think that Wimbledon is the most prestigious of the four slams? For me personally, US Open is the most exciting. I think it's definitely most prestigious in that, at least in Europe. I don't know how it is in other continents, in other regions of the world, but like people know Wimbledon even if they have no clue about tennis. Probably what plays a part is the different surface, the unique all white clothing as well, which kind of helps build the brand, build the recognition. I would say these people, like non-tennis watching people in Europe, probably wouldn't really tell you what the Australian Open or the US Open is, or like wouldn't be able to tell you anything about it when it happens. While at Wimbledon, they like more or less have a clue what it is about. And I guess in that way, it's the most prestigious. Personal feelings can be very different. For me, I don't really care. I don't have a favorite slam, frankly. I have them all at like the same level. So yeah, that's my opinion on that.
Yeah, I mean, in the US especially, I think Wimbledon and US Open probably gets the most viewership, just in general, with ESPN having the rights. They also have the rights with the Australian Open, but I just feel like the time zone, maybe the first part of the year with NFL still going on and other competing sports, it's probably doesn't get as much viewership unless it's like really big names, like the big three or Serena or stuff like that. But US Open, you also have a different type of crowd, I would say, than Wimbledon. Wimbledon is very much more traditional, and it's a lot more like just people who just like to enjoy the sports. They're a bit more on the older side. I don't know if I can say that for sure, actually, but yeah, it definitely feels like that. Having been to Queens, and obviously they value their tradition, different type of crowds. You won't see too many people who are just there for just getting drunk, basically, and just loudly cheering and all of that. It's much more quiet, please, ready to play type people versus New York, where you might just see more rowdier crowds in general. But yeah, I'm kind of like you. I just kind of like what every different major has to offer, and I struggle to really come up with a favorite one. Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess the one match on the men's side that we still haven't touched is Dimitrov just, the finishing his match against Tiafoe, of course, was just the third set, I think from 1-2 down. So just a few games. Actually, I didn't even realize that Tiafoe did not win a game today. But
Yeah.
yeah, what do you think of that? Nothing probably really that changed. So I'm assuming that on Saturday, someone on here talked about this match. But like, yeah, just a complete demolition, which I think I remember that you didn't expect. I think I picked Dimitrov to like go far, but it was mostly based on the fact that he had an easy couple of rounds.
Yeah.
For everyone, I think Dimitrov TFO was like more or less a pick 'em, and this sort of dominance was just absolutely wild to see.
Yeah, it's probably the best match Dimitrov has played in a major in over 2 years. Just with how clinical he was, he served extremely well, very, very efficiently. And, some people were saying that he's tinkered with his service motion a little bit, changed it up. It's a bit cleaner and more, less prone to lapsing under pressure. We'll see when he's really put under pressure how that serve holds up. But as far as today, I thought the slice was a very, very good play for him, especially going down the line very often with that slice, forcing Tiafo to generate balls below the net where he's not as comfortable and he has a more extreme grip. To be honest, I thought Tiafo was very flat overall and just really didn't give himself much to get going. And he's very much who plays with the crowd and who likes to find something in a match usually to get excited about and pump himself up, and he very much relies on that energy and he thrives on it. And he just wasn't really getting that with the flat atmosphere, and just it felt like everything was getting diffused by Dimitrov's court coverage and just his ability to just neutralize any baseline power from Tiafo whatsoever. And Tiafo, he just I don't think I think it's actually just Dimitrov played super clinically, and Tiafo just didn't really find a way to get into the match. I thought the suspension was going to help Tiafo find a little bit more energy, and maybe we would see Dimitrov start to feel the nerves of the moment a little bit more than he did. But it basically resumed exactly the same way. So I guess that's credit to Grigor, because he certainly could have gone away a little bit from those tactics from the first day. But yeah, I think this is his first top 10 win since that team match at the 2021 Australian Open.
At the slams, you mean, right?
Yeah, at the slams.
Okay.
But yeah, so certainly expected more from Tiafo, but also Dimitrov might have just won it anyway, just with his know-how and his experience on the surface. He hasn't made since 2014 was when he made the semifinals here, but hasn't made the quarter since. So it'll be interesting to see that match against Runa.
Yeah, and I think we've talked about it on one of the shows, but like his season has been so consistent. It hasn't included like a major win or a major run. It has
Yeah.
included now 3 top 10 wins, but they were like against the players ranked 10, 10, and 9, I think. And against the top 5, he's 0 and 5, but playing Alcaraz, Djokovic. And in general, big runs, he hasn't really had any, I would say. He had that Geneva final, of course, which was a big step for him personally, because it was the first final he made in over 5 years. So it was no doubt huge for him, but it wasn't really like a standout result that, that makes you think that, Dimitrov is like playing some of the best tennis of his life. He might be though, and yeah, let's see where he takes it, because like in the ATP race, he's like about 20-ish, which it doesn't really sound that high, because the results have not been there. He hasn't actually amassed that many points, but he's only losing to the best this year, which is is a signal that something is going well. As you said, someone I also read some analysis on the service motion change, which just seems to be working out really well for him. Just 3 points lost on first serve against Tiafoe in the whole match.
37 out of 40, ridiculous.
And also has only just a few on the second serve as well, which maybe doesn't really bode well for like Tiafoe in the long run, and he's returning. But at the same time, Dimitrov just played an insane match. He kept going for the slice, but it kept bringing him good results. And of course, he's so well versed in it, both offensively and defensively. And there was also a chance. There were some comments in the chat about like when. For example, this one from Matthew: how will Rune deal with the Dini slides that Francis struggled with? I think it's going to be a great asset as well. And I was actually kind of surprised to learn that Dimitrov is such a big favorite in this one, even according to the market. Like, I agree with it, but I was expecting it to be like, sort of my personal feeling that probably most people would disagree with. But it seems like everyone is on the Dimitrov hype train right now,
Mm.
and I mean, Rune clearly needs like a year or two, I think, to be a factor at Wimbledon when it comes to winning the title. Can he beat Dimitrov? Of course, but I think if Dimitrov plays like such a smart, just such an intelligent brand of tennis as he did against Defoe and serves this well, the door is open.
Yeah.
I don't know if he can touch Alcaraz, if Alcaraz will even be there, but maybe we'll talk about it later when previewing what's to happen tomorrow. But I don't know if he can touch Alcaraz given the fact that in Queens he didn't really come close. But Rune feels like he is very, very beatable right now for Dimitrov, and yeah, I think
Yes.
that slice will be an asset as well. And then I'm in love with how he uses it after this match, and honestly, of course, for years. It's been
Yeah.
such a good tool for him to basically do anything. It's not only a disruption; it's actually a weapon sometimes, and yeah, just a fantastic shot all around.
Yeah, I totally second that about the slice, and I think tactically he'll have a big edge against Runa, and also just yeah, I mean, just he probably deserves to be the favorite. But I wonder if it does come down to the crunch, 5-all, 6-all, stuff like that. I wonder if Runa will actually
Hmm.
have more of an advantage in those bigger moments. Just knowing what we know about Dimitrov and the lack of clutchness sometimes and in the last few years with all the scar tissue. But yeah, I totally agree with everything else basically. Um,
Yeah, so I guess we can talk about the women's matches now, and then maybe at the end we will preview what's gonna happen tomorrow, or do we want to do it the other way around?
yeah, sure. No,
Open to
let's go to the
suggestions.
women's. Let's go to the
Okay,
women's side actually.
okay.
Yeah. Do we want to start with? I mean, obviously the first result that came in during the day was
Hmm.
Vondrousova getting the big win, getting to her first quarterfinal, beating Bushkova in 3 sets. So, are you impressed with Vondrousova getting to the quarters at Wimbledon? And she's now made second week of all the majors, and final of a French, and now Olympic silver medalist too, and this result. So,
Definitely. I mean, just going into this grass season, Vondrousova had this clay campaign when everyone was thinking, okay, she has to go deep here, she has to go deep here, and then it never really materialized. It didn't make me think less of her. Like, I just thought it's a matter of variance, and also maybe the courts in Madrid, for example, not suiting her as much as Roland Garros does, and Kasatkina having such a good showing against her in Paris. Of course, I still thought that Vondrousova is underranked, just maybe not by as much as at some point it seemed like. But yeah, this grass season is just something that I never would have guessed. These heavy topspin styles, usually they don't pan out well on grass unless you're someone like Swiatek who can basically blast through the ball anyway. But like most of these heavy clay-oriented heavy topspin players, yeah, generally they fail on grass. Like, I don't know, Jill Teichmann or whoever. And with Vondrousova, it's not the case. I think maybe mostly because of that slider serve working so well, and yeah,
yeah.
she's just able to control the points. And
Also, the
actually,
forehand down the line is very good. I like how
mhm,
she's taking it early, flattening it out down the line,
yeah.
and mixed in with the white serve. I think that's what sets up that shot for her because especially most people they like to go cross court on the return. It's just the higher percentage play, but
Mhm.
Vondrousova counters with that beautifully.
Yeah, and that's like she's still able to play points on her own terms on grass, at least so far. Like, I don't know if it actually holds up when she is playing, let's say, Świątek in the semis, or I don't know, someone like Sabalenka, Alexandrova, Rybakina, or Kvitova in the final. Probably not. uh, I would say that like, just on strictly on paper, I would say that like her matchup against Świątek on grass, for example, would be pretty awful. That's how it seems to me. But yeah, against Pegula, I don't know. She can definitely keep it going, and for her to eliminate both. I think for her to eliminate Vekic in this event, and also to, of course, eliminate Kudermetova was pretty huge, because these were like the two players that everyone was expecting in the semis there. and she just took out both of them in straight sets. You could say that both matches were kind of subpar from the two players that I just mentioned, but
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah, and I think for Vekic, it was such a quick turnaround after the match against
Mm-hmm.
Stephens. And so physically, she was, obviously never going to be 100%. So, but she's doing so much. She still was able to do so much damage and finish the job very efficiently. I mean, even against, start like Kudermetova, Vekic, Buskova back to back is a very good run, I would say. Also, Stearns in the first round, but it's. Yeah, and again for Pagula, she's now completed the set also, just like Rublev of all the quarterfinals at majors. She's never made a semi as well, and she's just been super consistent since 2020 Cincinnati, since the resumption of the pandemic, and obviously she's had a very good draw here, and she's made the most of it. But yeah, I mean, this is a good chance to get to the semis for her and just kind of keep her status as like the fourth or fifth best player this year.
Yeah, this is what she has gotten us used to. There has been like basically when you look at her year, she only really lost to Taylor Townsend in Rome, and
Yeah.
maybe you could argue about Elise Mertens at the French, but otherwise she is only losing to like all their top players: Kvitova, Azarenka, Świątek, Krejčíková, Kvitova, Rybakina, Bencic, Kudermetova, Goff. Yeah, so basically Townsend, Mertens is arguable, but she is like a bit of a Grigor Dimitrov in that way, but she is actually getting further in these events than Grigor has been. And yeah, this is what she has gotten us used to. So not surprised that she is there, especially as her draw. I mean, did it open up? I guess everyone was just thinking that Kudermetova or Vekic probably beat her,
Right.
and that's why, that's why people didn't have her that deep, right? Because otherwise, I don't think there was that much in her section. Well, maybe some Sonova or Zheng, but both of them had some issues. So yeah, definitely a good section for Pegula. She took advantage, and yeah, that's what we've been watching for the past I don't know, year and a half at least. And yeah, Pegula Tsurenko probably a match with no history today. Tsurenko was actually I don't know if Nick has to, because someone earlier said that Nick has to apologize for for what he said about Tsurenko, but I thought she was injured, right? So he was like kind of right, but this time she just played through that injury, and keeps happening to her this year. That's all I can comment.
I mean, I guess if many people on Twitter bring it up all the time. Same with commentators on air and stuff. But Tsurenko and her retirements.
Yeah, and walkovers as well, right? Like it's like
it's like just a thing associated with her. But hey, we I guess so Pegula's through, but how about Miss Andreeva? We gotta talk about her. Because what a good match that was in terms of just composure and getting over the line in the end. Against a pretty good opponent in Potapova, who's had a very good year herself. So for her to come back from 1-4 down in the second set and also save 2 set points, a lot of great composure, and she really had to earn many of those points and just force Potapova to play so many extra shots. It was really a good effort. Could have easily gone to a third.
Absolutely, and like it was a bit of an error fest from Potapova. I'm not denying that, and it was probably a match that Andreeva won more with her defense and just being clutch and making Potapova hit that extra shot. But that's also an ability that is worth something. That's actually like part of why I think she is like the real deal, if you may, is because she is so complete and like is able to pull off many different game plans, and it's actually kind of hard to find weaknesses even. Sometimes she could be that overpowered, that's for sure. So I'm still not sure if like tomorrow when she plays keys, if she's gonna hold up fine, if she's gonna play like one of these main title favorites. I still think it might be a little too early for her, but this is a woman who was, well, a woman, girl, even if you you can say that.
Yeah.
So she was basically starting to play on grass like a few weeks ago, so it's still crazy. And I guess in a way we kind of expected that, because that's like the level of talent that she has been showing, and the level of adaptability, I suppose. But yeah, phenomenal run. I think that her draw is a little too tough for for me to believe that she will be able to pull it off, but that she actually could be able to win the title here. But it's a fantastic sign for the future that in her first Wimbledon at the age of 16, after barely playing on grass before, even barely practicing on grass before, she is able to do this. I think Keys is just such a rough test that, especially with like the more slightly improved rally tolerance and like the slightly smarter tennis that Madison Keys has been playing over the past 2 weeks. I know this tends to run out for her, just like someone was suggesting about Grigor, that like anytime we think he turns a corner, and then a disappointing showing comes in. I know it happens with Keys as well,
No, that's
but
a fair
she
comparison.
has to be like a big favorite for me tomorrow. Madison, I mean.
Yeah. In a way, actually, I was thinking about it today. Just the defensive abilities of Andreeva. I mean, and I mean not just defensively, because, like you said, her game is very complete. But I feel like she's so versatile in defense,
Hmm.
in a way that it's not just it's like squash shots. It's like loopier high shots. It's like just resetting rallies, and it's like just getting it on her front foot. It's like very much, it's like Rona actually on the men's side. It's so versatile already, and it's like very difficult to just get balls by her. And we saw like the only really thing that she struggled with at the French Open was obviously the composure, and she got very frustrated like at points when she played Coco Gauff, because it was like just a more seasoned version of what she is, at the very high level. But I feel like she's just back. I feel like mentally she's just in a very good spot after getting this match, and no one really expects her to beat Keys. For instance, with the run that Keys is on, like just backing up her Eastbourne win. And she took out Kostyuk very comfortably, 4-1 the other day. And yeah, I mean, Keys has only made one quarterfinal, and that was in 2015. But I could see, yeah, I definitely agree with you though that it's probably a bit too far for Andreeva right now to win that match. But you never know which Keys will show up.
Exactly. And the best two matches of the day on the women's side, at least, but I would even argue that in general, the best two matches of the day were the last two matches of the women's event. I mean, on the women's side, and they were both happening like almost simultaneously. If you finished Swiatek Bencic, I think you could actually watch the match tiebreak for Azarenka Svitolina, which is probably what a lot of people did, which admittedly is what I did. I only
Yeah.
watched the match tiebreak, and I think you did as well. Was it your tweet that I saw? Uh, no,
Mm,
maybe it wasn't yours. I saw a few of these on Twitter.
yeah.
People just saying that they only watched the tiebreak, but it was incredible. So, yeah, any of these matches, we have to talk about them, of course.
Yeah, I caught like a little bit of action before the tiebreak and just kind of in
Okay.
between, but my stream was showing the other match on court, but they were flipping over between court one and center. But
Okay.
because I was mostly focused on Bencic versus Iga at points, particularly at the end of the second set. But that tiebreak was obviously incredible. And Svitolina, I feel like this is the hardest she's ever hit the ball, like especially off her forehand side, because we always knew she had like just the counter punching, counter attacking, and counter punching skills. She always had the incredible defense, and she always just was super tough to get the ball by. And with her speed, and also just the way she can change directions, you always knew that you knew that it was basically going to depend on her depth, because she keeps the ball so deep, but at times she's just prone to being overpowered, just because at times she can't just land the short she can't just land the odd short ball here or there in rallies, and then she's kind of it's that ceiling. And that's what happened a lot of the times in the matches she played against Azarenka. She never managed to actually get a win. Came really really close in Rome in 2019, and then there were a few other matches, some very one-sided for Azarenka and others not. But this was a really good effort, because she was down a set in a break, and then she managed to get it. She managed to really like use one or two dips in Azarenka's level, and then raced to basically a 3-love lead after many long games in the, I think, the 7th and 8th game in particular of the second set. Then she managed to get to 3-love, and then it was kind of back and forth for a while, and then they got locked in this tiebreak, and Azarenka went up 7-4. But Svitolina really earned all of those points after that, and actually, there's not much that Azarenka did wrong in a lot of those occasions. Especially, like, I remember a really cool point. It's 7-all. Azarenka hit the perfect serve out wide. She hit a very good approach down the line, makes Svitolina hit a very difficult pass, and she made it cross court, found the angle, got the winner, and then yeah, it was quite a good effort. And then Azarenka actually managed to get it to 9-all. And she got a bit nervous on one of the swing volleys, and then finally put away an overhead. But it was just such a relief for Svitolina at the end, and she hit an ace on the match point, which made it even better. And she got her first win. And it's honestly amazing, like how she's so bad. She's so fit and so ready already. Gonna come back like just 2 months after basically coming back. That I still kind of remember that first match that she played, and to see where she is at now, 2 back-to-back quarterfinals is, yeah, pretty amazing. I think just the whole experience of the last 9 months plus everything that she's playing for, it's really made her a lot stronger. So might be the best she's ever played.
I wanted to say that kind of like I think she is probably a bit more complete than she was. Like right now, she just seems more willing to take risks.
Yeah,
Which I'm not saying she has to do all the time. Of course, she has like this very like her natural style as defense is counter punching, but she can actually also take matters into her own hands a bit more now, and she did that in the tiebreak on a few occasions. Of course, the most prevalent dynamic was actually Azarenka trying to hit through her, and yeah, struggling to do that, going for that drop shot at 8-all, which didn't work out for her at all. And you mentioned the
yeah,
swing volley and the smash, which both were shaky. But that's what Svitolina kind of just made her do, and of course, just an insane run of points to get back from 4-7 down as well. Yeah, fantastic show. I read some, I think on Twitter today, I read that someone believed that like Svitolina is not going to be able to win this event because her stamina is not going to be good enough. I don't really think like that's true at all.
I
Like
think that's probably one of her best strengths.
yeah, and if I'm thinking that she's not winning this event, because I'm still thinking that she's not winning this event,
Yeah,
it's probably just because she's going to run into players who are going to expose her, maybe still slightly more defensive style, like a lower ceiling compared to some of the other players left in the draw, especially on grass. And in a way, that something similar will happen as in most of her quarterfinal, semifinal appearances at the slams, where a lot of the time she was just overrun by a more powerful opponent. Will it be Swiatek? I would think so. Like that doesn't sound like a good matchup for me. Probably doesn't sound as at least as unpleasant as Benjic was for Swiatek, but well, we'll see that. And Nick was also asking about the best level that she's ever reached. So I'm assuming that's also like what he's thinking about, and
yeah,
that it could be his opinion. But of course, Kirit is right to suggest that there were some amazing Svitolina performances in the past, like the WTA finals, and perhaps us thinking that is just recency bias. But she does seem a little more complete after her comeback to me. And yeah, talking about that other match, Fiontek Pencic, what the hell was that? And um,
yeah,
probably one of Iga's best wins. That there were occasions over the past year or so when we were talking about most losses that Fiontek has being so lopsided, and like her not actually, well, her at some point just closing down mentally, and maybe just losing the motivation. It did not happen here at all, and the match point saves were just pure class. So I think that's really huge. And of course, she also has a chance to keep this going. So if she's in the final, we're gonna be talking about this match as as the turning point, as the key moment in this run as well.
yeah. I think the key thing is like she saved these match points, and it wasn't Bencic who it wasn't a collapse at all from Bencic. It was Iga who absolutely earned it, 5-6, 15-40 down, all the way to the end of the second set tiebreak. And that was impressive because she was so focused and locked down in those moments, and she hit a near forehand winner and then a backhand winner as well to save them.
Mm-hmm.
So that was very impressive because she really had to go out. She really had to go out there and just just attack and just believe in it. Basically, believe in the forehand, and it wasn't always there for her on many occasions because Bencic was able to rush her with it. She was able to go down the line with her backhand very, very early in rallies sometimes, and that put Iga on the back foot, especially in the first set tiebreak. And Iga had many chances to break in the first set. She didn't. She didn't take them. But I mean, and then she went up a break in the second set also, and then played a shaky game to get broken back. But in the past, maybe like 3 or 4 months ago, when Iga's confidence was a little bit shaky, she might have been a little bit more rattled in that moment and might have had a little bit of resignation, like you were talking about, with just like not really believing, not finding the solutions really. But she managed to do so here, but pretty impressively. And Bencic's serve, Bencic's forehand in the third set went away a little bit, and she had two double faults for which helped Iga get the break. But still, you could tell that the break was coming. You just knew that at some point here, Bencic's level is going to dip just enough, and Iga's probably going to capitalize and take control, which she did. So yeah, I mean, this was already kind of she was in an open section in the draw, but I mean, now you really have to like her chances to go further and get to the final, especially with all those bigger hitters on the bottom half, where
Yeah.
most of the really interesting matches are actually.
Yeah, I mean, Bencic was not perhaps perceived as much of a threat as she should have been because, well, between Charleston and Wimbledon, she only played one match. So,
Yeah,
yeah, there was just no way of knowing what sort of form she was going to have at Wimbledon. But of course, by the time she got to the fourth round, she was clearly just as good as usual. So that's why perhaps, we didn't exactly spot her in the we thought that she might be the rival that Swiatek takes on in the fourth round. It just didn't seem like she would be this dangerous. um it's a different matchup than what Swiatek will probably. I mean, I'm not saying she has to make the final, but like if she plays the final against one of these power players, it's gonna be a different matchup still, because like
yeah,
Bencic, she hits pretty flat, but she wasn't exactly pressuring the Swiatek forehand corner as we expected to be pressured by like
yeah,
Sabalenka or Rybakina. She more so, focuses on absorbing and redirecting pace, which she's amazing at. It turned out that she is also capable of causing Swiatek issues, at least on grass this way, which in the past she has also beaten Swiatek, like right U.S. Open or so it wasn't the first time either.
yeah. U.S.
But
Open 2021. They obviously had that
yeah.
really
um
tight first set, and then
There was also, I mean, Swiatek has beaten her in the past too, but she definitely
yeah,
lost to her, and so it did make sense that it was pretty close. Definitely not the strongest performance from Iga in general. Like there was a lot of overheating. There was a lot of just, especially on return. I thought there was there was just a lot of playing like she has to finish the points early, and I'm not sure that was exactly the case. But once the match points came, she was actually hitting with like controlled aggression and never really risked too much, while still being in control of these points, or at least on the first one, because on the second she was like maybe countering a little bit, but then also handled a very low ball coming at her beautifully. And just a very strong, this is like the sort of champion performance that you expect from players like that. So
yeah,
that's pretty huge for her to get this win. Bencic probably also what she could have done better was attack the second serve, which on most occasions Iga was just rolling it in with like a kick that I think could be eaten up by someone like who's like the best returner out of these four players that I keep mentioning that could play her in the final. Let's say maybe even
Rybakina,
Alexandrova, if,
yeah,
Rybakina. Yeah, if she gives a kick serve like that to one of these, I think it could be an issue. But
mm,
Bencic never really took advantage of it. So And on the match point, right, there was also I think on the second match point there was a kick
She
serve
could have
like
been
that.
more aggressive on the return. Yeah,
Yeah.
on the second one.
So that was probably like the main moment when it went wrong. Like not only moment, but like general the pattern of play that kind of went wrong was that Bencic didn't really go after that second serve. But otherwise, she of course played a very good match, and yeah, it was just if someone blows 2 match points and like both of them are rallies, you can even say that she was kind of unlucky to lose this. But yeah, that's what happened, and Świątek is still in the event, which yeah, for her it's just such a massive boost. And of course, she's also still in the fight for the world #1 ranking, right? So I think that's something that like isn't really talked about that much. For me, it doesn't really. I don't really think it changes all that much whether she stays at #1, but it is a factor.
It's kind
It
of the
is
same thing
something
as
that.
Roland Garros.
Mhm.
It's like she has to do one better than Sabalenka, or
Yeah,
at least get to the final with her not getting there, and so it'll just kind of play out on its own. And they're very close in the race, um, which I think will probably end up mattering more in the end down the stretch. But one thing that Bencic does really well, which I find really impressive, is like no matter how deep the ball comes at her, she always finds this ability to like she hits this incredible inside out backhand, like right from the center of the court, and she gets so low, and she's just able to like use all the pace from the opponent and just find it in the corner. And it's just I don't know anyone else in the world that can really do that on their backhand. It's very unique to Bencic, and a lot of people say that she's a little bit like Hingis in terms of how she redirects and absorbs pace, which would make sense because she grew up,
yeah.
Hingis's mom was coaching her, so it does make sense. And also, it's a different type of way of rushing Iga by basically just diffusing everything that Iga's throwing at her versus, Sabalenka, Rybakina, Kvitova, players like Ostapenko, players like that. Just they're able to generate all of that pace on their own with, especially on their forehand.
It
Which
also reminds me of the opponent that she played in the third round, so Magdalena, a bit, especially the way she played at the Australian Open. I
right.
think was really fairly similar. Bencic usually
Yeah,
brings to the court because Linette, I guess, is not always, performing this sort of a style. And also, someone is asking, how does Sabalenka get to the #1 ranking? I think at this point she actually has to. No, she doesn't have to win it yet. She could be in the final, and if Świątek loses to Svitolina, the final would be enough, I think. But
yeah,
if Świątek beats Svitolina, then Sabalenka would have to win it. So basically, that's how she does it. No one else is close enough yet. But in the long run, of course, Sabalenka is also like live. She is about 200, almost 250 points ahead of Świątek in the WTA race. So for Świątek, it would actually be kind of vital to just get a better result than Sabalenka here because she is a little bit behind in the WTA race.
yeah.
But is it the main factor at Wimbledon? Maybe it plays into like their mindsets a little bit, I suppose. But I don't really think it's that huge. You probably care more about the slam, and like then we will think about the ranking,
Yeah, yeah.
rather than the other way around.
Well, Bencic is
Yeah,
8th in the race. That's
oh,
very
that's
high considering she didn't play like
really.
anything on clay.
Yeah, she basically missed 3 months, right? Because she only played for the French Open, so she got 10 points.
Charleston and
She
then Roland Garros. Yeah, she
yeah,
lost to Evan Neeson, and but
she
she
earned
didn't play. She
10
didn't play
points.
Stuttgart, and she didn't play Madrid. She didn't play Rome.
Yeah, that's
Um,
because of the 500s, right? That she won at the
yes,
beginning of the year, I suppose, mostly.
yeah,
But yeah, that's really high. I wasn't expecting it, definitely. But no, of course, that's also not a dig at Bencic that I wasn't expecting it. It's just the fact that she's been out for 3 months, and in
right.
over the course of 3 months, she only earned 10 points.
But this is
And I get,
usually where
mhm.
she plays her best. Like it's usually between. It's usually like March through June is where you would not expect much from her, but it's usually like in the hard court season, like after
Yeah,
Wimbledon, is where she usually has some of her biggest results.
and she seems healthy again, so
Yeah. Although she
that's good
was
to
heavily
see.
strapped with her right shoulder and right bicep.
Yeah,
But it didn't seem to be an issue at all in the whole
yeah.
actually. So yep.
Um, yeah, and I guess this is where we might talk about what's gonna happen tomorrow, right? So we've got the rest of the fourth round basically, which is the top half of the men's draw, the bottom half of the women's draw. So the more interesting halves, at least that's how it was at
Yes.
first, and of course also the resumption of the Hurkacz Djokovic match, which we already covered. So I don't know. Yeah, what do you feel about the matches on the men's side, maybe?
Yeah, Rybakina versus Haddad Maya should be
Oh, that's good.
interesting just because Haddad Maya beat her at in the Middle East. I think Rybakina was also struggling a little bit with a back problem, maybe if I remember that match correctly. But still, Haddad Maya can just make it very physical. She takes the ball very early, especially on her, especially forehand. Plays very close to the baseline. So I wonder how she will diffuse some of those strong returns that'll come at her. And if the leftiness, she maybe make Rybakina move into the corners a little bit more than, let's say, Shelby Rogers has, or like definitely way more than Katie Bolter did in the third round, because that was just a total mismatch right from the beginning. But I'm
Yeah.
interested to see if, if Haddad Baya can actually, make it physical, extend some rallies, because then she actually has a shot at maybe pulling off the upset, because she's been playing very well. She beat Kirstea 2-2, and she just has a lot of confidence now, having broken that second round monkey, having not been past the second round of a major monkey off her back. So yeah, I think that will be fun. And then yeah, Djokovic Hurkacz will be kind of more of the same. And then like maybe we'll get another tiebreak, maybe we won't, but it would have been interesting if it was one set all, and then you had to come back the next day and basically play a best of 3 set match. But Jabeur versus Kvitova is really fun. I think this is like one of those matches where most people just don't want either one. They want both to win because they're both so popular. But Jabeur has actually struggled a little bit in this matchup, quite a bit, just because of Kvitova's pace and just power. It's sometimes was a big mismatch, like we saw in Cincinnati in 2021 and 2022, where Kvitova was just able to, like, I think they played in Cincinnati with 6-1, 4-6, 6-0 for Kvitova, and Kvitova just looks in that kind of form where she didn't play in Eastbourne, she won Berlin, and she's getting better and better with every match. She actually had a few wobbles here and there. It took her a while to close out Stevanovic in the third round, and then she obviously lost that second set tiebreak to Paulini, who we praised the other day because she played pretty well. But yeah, I think if they're both playing their very best, then I think there's only one winner in this match, and that would be Petra.
Yeah, Ashley, when it comes to your question about the last back-to-back Wimbledon women's champion, it is the easy answer. It is Serena, 2015 and 2016. And she was also the previous woman to do it in 2009 and 2010. And earlier than that, it was Venus. So
Yeah.
basically, this feat has been like monopolized by Venus and Serena, who also did it in 2002, 2003. That's Serena, and 2000 and 2001. That's Venus. Earlier than that, Steffi Graf. Not gonna go that not gonna go down the road much further. And Petra is 33 when it comes to your other question. And yeah, I think the way Kvitova has been playing in Miami, and then during the grass season so far, 8 matches won, 1 set lost, amazing form. We've talked earlier that pulling out of Eastbourne was just a fantastic decision for her. And yeah, I feel like she is actually a pretty strong favorite against Jabeur. It has been a tough matchup for Ons, and I can see how yeah, the power of Kvitova sometimes takes away most of the Tunisians' assets, and it could be the same story here. I don't think that Ons is the same level of a threat to win this event as Kvitova is right now. For me, like the 2 matches of the day for sure are Alexandrova Sabalenka and Alcaraz Berrettini. Honestly, both of them, at this point, I kind of have no clue who's gonna win. Before the event, Alcaraz, I thought Berrettini was probably not gonna get there. Like I thought it was probably gonna be the Minor, maybe Zverev, maybe even someone like Fatanuki or Husler, honestly. But Berrettini was just supposed to be a non-factor because of Stuttgart, because of how he looked there, and like the fact that he clearly wasn't ready. And right now it's just completely different because the guy has been blowing away his opponents in the first 3 rounds. He still hasn't been broken. And of course, he is the former Wimbledon runner-up. I think he is more or less playing at that level right now. So for me,
Yeah.
it's an absolutely huge test for Alcaraz that we didn't even think was gonna be there. Like it's just a completely new layer of threat, layer of danger in Alcaraz's draw, which I don't know if he'll be ready for. This is something that I kind of have to wait and see, I think. And Alexandrova Sabalenka from the very beginning of the tournament, it kind of seemed to me like the key match of this bottom half of the draw, maybe even, but definitely their quarter. That's how I felt, and I would still second that. And yeah, I know Alexandrova made 91 unforced errors against Madison Brangle, but I don't think it really matters that much just because of how different the matchups are. And
Yeah.
yeah, I don't think it's really a matter of form. Brangle has over the years, even though she basically does nothing with the ball, she has forced a lot of players into this sort of a match where they're just hitting themselves off the court and they don't really know what hit them. And I don't think it really will play a part when she plays Sabalenka, and it's like a complete full on battle for baseline dominance. And she also beat Sabalenka on grass last year in Hertogenbosch. So
In the
for me,
finals, yeah.
these two matches are very close to me.
I feel like you about the Alexandrova Sabalenka
Hmm.
match. I think that's like very tough to call. I think it might as well be pretty close to 50-50. Like I don't know who's going to win that match. For Berrettini Alcaraz, I'm confident that we're going to get a good battle and that Berrettini will really test Alcaraz. I was impressed with Berrettini against Zverev, just the way he handled that matchup, just in general, the way he was protecting his backhand with the slice, but also sometimes hitting over it, especially down the line, hitting some really good passing shots. Zverev was not able to be offensive with his forehand at all, and Zverev served really, really, really well in that match and got no sets out of it. So that was impressive for Berrettini, and yeah, he's basically it's kind of insane because I think he's surprising himself. He didn't think he would be ready at all, especially after he cried, losing to Senegal, winning just 3 games, and then had to withdraw from Queens, and then was down a set against Sonego and basically played 5 days in a row, but still finds himself here with it's a really big test for Alcaraz. But I actually think having played Jari, and Jari played extremely, extremely well, and Alcaraz had to come up with real quality shots to win, to not let that go into a fourth because to a fifth. I mean, because his movement was really tested. He was having to use the slice quite a lot. He was having to come up with just scramble, defend, basically get returns back and get enough back into play, and then draw errors. The difference is that I think he has a little bit of a safe haven when it comes to Berrettini. Like he knows he'll be able to win more second serve points if that makes sense, because he can expose the Berrettini backhand in ways that I think other players might not be able to. And I do think he's been dealing with slice quite well recently, so that will certainly be an advantage for him. And then I just think, yeah, when it comes to like the physicality and movement and longer exchanges, like Berrettini basically just to have an awesome day with his serve and forehand, which like when that particular combination is firing, it's like very world class. But I don't know if it'll be enough to beat Alcaraz 3 out of 5. Like I could see him winning a set. I could even see him maybe winning two, but I don't know if he'll have enough to like actually get over the line. Just how battle tested Alcaraz is right now.
Fair enough. I guess what we have not mentioned was Medvedev Lehechka, Eubanks Tsitsipas, and I
Yeah,
guess these
I
are
think
the only
Eubanks
two
and
matches
Tsitsipas is
that we're
kind of
gonna
a
mention.
pick-em. I really like the way Eubanks is
Okay.
playing right now. I think that could get very, very close to an upset, or maybe even I wonder what the odds actually are on that. Eubanks, Tsitsipas.
F-
Have you checked?
Steph is like pretty strongly favored. However, it's probably closer than it would have been, before the tournament. I think right now. Um, I'm not sure what to think. Like, of course, Eubanks will target that backhand and the return, especially. He has the ability to do it, 100%. But just remembering, how Stefanos was hitting the forehand in most of the match against Murray,
Yeah,
I cannot pick against him. I think right now, like it was just incredible. The amazing footwork, the explosiveness in going from inside out to inside in. it was something to really behold. And from time to time, like I feel like even that Tsitsipas forehand can be disappointing sometimes. I know people say that it's like one of the best on the tour, and there are definitely months, there are moments during the course of the year where I'm like, what are you talking about? You know,
Yeah,
it's
I
it's
think
it's
I
it's
think this
pretty
is one of those
average.
moments. Like since Australia, it's not been very good. Actually,
Yeah.
been pretty erratic. He's been shanking a lot more with it.
And
The form hasn't
here
been there. And here
I
it's
feel like it's kind of woken up.
smooth.
Like
Yeah,
the match against Murray was the first time where I actually was the first time in months where I actually thought, okay, this is one of the best shots on the tour. Holy cow! I mean, what the hell is this guy playing? He
yeah,
actually did he lose that first set? No, he actually won the first set. But like that first set against Murray, the opener was just maybe even the best that I've ever seen him hit it. And that's also coupled with the footwork. Like they both went together and like just created a monster, which still had to go to a tiebreak. You know, he was still shunking a lot of returns.
yeah,
And Murray actually, but he was probably the better player over the course of the set. It was Murray who had to work hard to win the points. It was Murray who had to work harder to win his service games. And if he's hitting his forehand like that, I think he should be able to prevail. I'm also not sure if Eubanks is really capable of checking like of like forcing him to work on the backhand side outside of the serve.
yeah. The
I'm
return
not.
is a big question mark. Like I don't
Yeah.
know, but he has been
I'm
hitting his backhand return very well, especially in key points and tie breaks. And he's been like going down the line and taking it very early, and basically like just attack, like just coming to net on basically any opportunity that he gets, and just basically cutting down all the rallies and keeping them to a minimal. So I do
yeah.
wonder, and also his wingspan and everything at the net. Like Tsitsipas will have to be on it with his passing shots, especially, and I don't know if he'll be able to do that consistently on the backhand side in particular, or if he'll have as much time to run around. Let's just say, because at least
Yeah.
against Murray, he found a safe haven in being able to hit his inside in really really well, and forcing Murray to basically defend on his forehand. Uh, you'll probably have to do that more against Eubanks, especially.
Yeah, I just wonder if
They have
Eubanks
like,
will be this smooth, in getting over to the net. Like
yeah,
if he can actually produce like hits clean enough and precise enough to force him to make the passes on the backhand side. But I guess that's gonna be something that we'll have to see. But
yeah.
yeah,
You're
for me
probably
it's
right though. This is
for me it's not
probably
a
a
pick
step
'em.
too much. Probably a step too
Yeah.
much. I would probably say Tsitsipas in 4 tight sets.
For me, it's probably not a pick 'em, but yeah, I mean, I totally get it. And of course, Tsitsipas is vulnerable to big servers, 100%. And
Yeah,
Medvedev Lehechka, this is actually priced like from what I can see, very similar to Tsitsipas Eubanks.
yeah,
I kind of just am feeling very comfortable with Medvedev going through there.
yeah, me too.
I think that like Lehechka is very good at attacking. He has at least this year, he has a fantastic transition game and volleying. He has improved it so much. He showed it also in the match against Tommy Paul, where he won like 80% of his net points, I think. And this could be like a chance for him. I believe, to try to close down the net early and win a lot of points this way. But I just think like his more conventional playing style will actually be like quite easy for Medvedev
Yeah,
to handle,
it's not disruptive
especially.
enough. It's
Yeah,
kind of very predictable baseline
yeah.
heavy power, and that Medvedev just deals with that really really well. He's probably just gonna win enough long rallies to where like kind of his soul will be sucked out of the match.
Yeah, that's my feeling on it too. Like I just feel like if Medvedev pulled through a couple of extremely frustrating matchups against Manarino and Fujovic, right now he will face something that he actually likes.
Yeah,
I feel like that's a match he will actually probably excel in. But
agree.
maybe Lehechka will show us something new and
Mm,
actually prove to be even tougher than expected. But not so sure about that at the moment. We actually
yeah,
could get Medvedev Tsitsipas, which is pretty wild because before the event, I never really thought about the fact that they could play at Wimbledon.
yeah.
But I guess that was mostly on
And their
Tsitsipas.
grass warm ups were not very good. 2-2 for
Yeah,
Medvedev, 1-3 for Steph.
True that, yeah. So maybe also because of Medvedev, because of the fact that he was playing Manarino Fucsovics. So like I never really thought of that. Like this quarter never really seemed like something that would end with this, much between the top two seeds, and somehow
Yeah,
it can still actually happen. I guess the only top eight seed on the men's side was actually Kasper Ruud was the only top eight seed on the men's side to fall, right? So
yeah,
that's pretty interesting as well. And
yeah. And then I think we already kind of covered Dimitrov Runa, but like,
yeah, we talked about it, I think.
yeah,
No,
I do
no, I'm
wonder if
actually.
I do wonder
Mhm.
how much Holger has left in. I think physically, I wonder how he'll start the match. Uh, Particularly also like it's reminding me a little bit of like Sorondolo, where he got by the fifth set tiebreak there. He's kind of making a habit of playing these fifth set super tiebreaks, isn't he? Like with Australia and then
Rublev, yeah.
I mean Runa. Yeah.
No, I mean against Rublev in
Yeah, yeah, against
Australia.
Rublev in
That's
Australia
what I
and then
meant. Yeah.
yeah, Sorondolo and RG and then now here.
Yeah, I didn't catch Davidovich Fogina Runa. So
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Just watch the tiebreak. Watch the fifth set tiebreak.
I know what happened at 8-all. I do not know what happened like in terms of how Holger was looking physically. So I'm not. That's why I'm not.
I
Yeah,
think the
I can't really
tiebreak
say anything.
perfectly encapsulates what EDF is
Okay.
all about.
Maybe I'll do that. Um. Yeah. Oh,
It should be also said Runa did save 2 match points as well. 5-4.
Ashley is making some bold predictions in the chat that Lehechka will win a Grand Slam, and also earlier there was Carlos beating Berrettini in 3. I like the boldness. He very well could. Why not? In a few years, it's
Carlos
certainly
beating
possible.
Berrettini in 3 is much more likely. I'll say that.
I
Then the
Interesting.
Hedgehog winning a oh yeah, I mean
Hmm.
ever like okay, yeah, winning a
Yeah,
Grand
that's
Slam.
ever. That's ever. Yeah. Then I don't know what's more likely
Hmm.
actually.
Okay, actually, yeah,
Uh,
that might be a good question. Never mind.
yeah, that's kind of
Hedgehog
incomparable
is
right
very
now.
young still, so
But we like the bold predictions here, and certainly this year he has made a huge leap.
yeah.
It hasn't lasted all year long. He has had lulls since, especially the clay. But yeah, he has made a fantastic leap and actually improved the parts of his game that I thought needed improving. Which my opinion doesn't really matter, but I do have to appreciate that he worked on the areas that I thought needed some work on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else that you want to talk about?
No, I think that's about it. We hit on every match.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think this is where we're going to stop. Actually, one more question maybe from Tennis Twit. Sorry for mixing up your gender again. I think we've it has happened before, but I'm gonna try to remember now. Anyway, do people really believe Carlitos can win Wimbledon this year? I don't. I do. Berrettini is an issue, but if he gets through Berrettini, I kind of like his chances to get to the final. Against Medvedev, he could use a lot of the same tactics as in Indian Wells, and maybe the court is more comfortable for Medvedev, but at the same time it's faster, so it's like maybe easier to serve and volley. The service is more of an aspect. Dimitrov he beat in Queens, and it was pretty comfortable. I don't think he can lose to Rune really at Wimbledon right now. So yeah, I could imagine that against Novak in the final, if he just comes out and has a fantastic day when it comes to the serve and the forehand, yeah, just overwhelms him with the power, just like he was doing it in the last few games of the second set at Roland Garros, which on clay was maybe tougher to do. So yeah, just would have to have like an absolute blinder in the final, I think. But yeah, for me, it is possible.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much
Uh,
very similar. I think I picked him to get to the final. So
Me too. But as I said, I wasn't really factoring in Berrettini being a threat. So now I'm less confident about him getting to the final. But maybe I'm going to be back to full confidence in Anil Karas making the final after tomorrow's match against Berrettini. So yeah, that's what we're gonna finish on Thank you guys as usual. And tomorrow you're gonna have someone. I think it's maybe Nick and Miles again.
Yeah.
I could confirm, but I think it is Nick and Miles. So they're gonna be there to guide you through the day 8 action, and that's where we finish our last ball drop story for Wimbledon, probably. So yeah, thanks for all the episodes, guys.
Yep, thanks a lot. Pretty good comments as well. So from Tennis Twit, Ghosty was back, Jake, all of our usual commenters, Ashley. Yep. So this makes it fun.
And we'll see you guys on some other shows.